We are on. Welcome to Elevate Today podcast. Today I'm with Benji. Benji, introduce yourself.
Well, you kind of already did. My name is Benji. I'm born and raised in San Jose, California. I'm 21, and right now I kind of just work at the Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah, that's where we met. Fun fact, I used to work at Cheesecake Factory. Do you like working there?
The money's good. I like the people, but I mean, if I'm gonna be honest, like sometimes I can just butt heads with managers. So there's that.
Yeah.
Like they're definitely cool. But there's we definitely butt heads a lot. But I get that they're just trying to do a job. I get that they're managing, and then it's nothing personal. But sometimes it can get to you.
Yeah. No, honestly, working there taught me so much, like to appreciate and respect people that do those kind of jobs because of how much stress it is. Mm-hmm. Like in the bakery. Like the bakery is tough.
The bakery is tough, but like I feel like the bakery is just pretty easy because we're just plating cheesecakes. I feel like people in the back, like the cooks, because they actually have to they have to watch their food, watch the temperatures, and like know where everything is at, and then cook so many things on like a really fast pace. Mm-hmm. So like, Jesus Christ, like you gotta respect these people.
Yeah, everything is time. It's like you are freaking racing the clock like so much. And even plating cheesecakes, it seems easy, but you have to decorate it. And if someone doesn't like it, they can just be like, "That's not right. That's not pretty." And some are super fast at plating. Like you were one of them. I was not. I'm like, please just don't talk to me.
You were good. You were good.
Okay.
Like I feel like the reason you were good is because you have a very very solid work ethic. Whereas some people, they just kind of didn't care. And so, like, they would just be generally slow. But, like, you were on it. So, like, I have a lot of respect for you, like, doing that work.
Thank you. It was tough. I'm like, some of y'all are really freaking fast. Anyway, well, I'll just get straight to the point of the very reason why I think it's very interesting. Because when I met you, I'm just like, we're all trying to figure life out. Whatever. Just interesting conversations. But I noticed that you're into stocks.
I am.
That's
pretty much like half my life.
Yeah, so stocks is a whole crazy world in and of itself. And how old are you?
21.
That's insane. How did you learn stocks? How'd you get into stocks?
So I kind of always wanted a way to, I guess, free myself financially. Like my mom and dad, like we lost our house back in the 2008 financial crash. And like just seeing my mom like sitting around with all these bills, I didn't want her to like stress out that much. And like that, I still have that image of her just stressing out and like crying. And like I just didn't want her to like suffer financially. So I kind of just like look for ways to like, oh, what can I do? Can I work a job? The entire time I was just helping my dad with his business. He owns a landscaping business and he kind of just does that on his own. But when I was 16, I had an AP World History class. AP US History, and we were learning about like the Great Depression and like World War II, and part of it was the Great Depression, and that kind of like led into the stock market. And ever since then, I just got on YouTube, searched up stocks, YouTube and Google, just searching up stocks, and then that kind of like led into a rabbit hole of like all these YouTubers that talk about personal finance and real estate and stocks themselves. And then after that, I just kept like educating myself through the internet.
Jeez. And how is stocks for you now? Like, how does it relate with your income?
That I kind of like keep hidden from most of the world, because there was a time where I kind of did show off like what I was doing, and it hurt. It mentally hurt when I lost everything. Mm-hmm. I'll give you like a little rundown of like what actually happened. So I think around 20, I started the moment I turned 18, so like 2019 August. I deposited like $1,000, and I just was doing dividends and just slowly progressing. And with $1,000, you don't really get much. You maybe get like 50-cent dividends, 20-cent dividends, $1 if you're lucky. But the point is like you're getting appreciation and dividends to like supplement like your percent gain. And I didn't like really take it serious until I want to say 2 years later, when I got into like option trading, and that's when like stuff really took off. But you still want to like take a very slow approach with it, which is why a lot of people like like you said, Daniel said, it's boring, and honestly, like, it is, because it's really about like getting rich slowly. It's not about getting rich quickly.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So what were the videos that really like made you realize you could do it, you know? Because everyone knows about stocks.
Right.
I know about stocks. I don't have any involvement with it yet, because it seems like this big monster. Like once you get it, you get it.
Mm-hmm.
But once you don't, you're just like everybody else.
I mean, I guess the thing that really solidified it was there's this one YouTuber called Graham Stephan. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
Mm-mm.
He just talks about, like, you know, the right way of doing personal finance and like investing in ETFs, mutual funds, and just like, you know, going up with the market, like, you know, your 10%, your 15%, 20% if you're lucky. And honestly, that's all it is. Just investing long term. Just keep supplementing, keep adding into your Roth IRA or whatever you got going on. I just have a regular Robinhood account. I have Webull to like chart, but like everything that I get like money wise just goes straight into my Robinhood, and I just let that shit sit.
That's okay. Yeah. So Robinhood is the app that you use.
It's my brokerage of choice.
Okay. And you don't do crypto?
Crypto is like weird to me because I don't really understand it. Like, I understand blockchain technology and how, like, you know, they want to have something that's decentralized and not controlled by the government, but it's not stocks. I don't really understand it. And there's all these rumors that like, oh, like cryptocurrency has no intrinsic value, so it could always go to zero, like depending on how much people believe in it, because that's what it is. Like, money is worth however much you think it's worth. If an egg is worth $6, then you're gonna pay $6 for it because that's what you believe that egg is worth. If you believe it's $3, then you're gonna pay $3 for it, and that $1 is worth $1 because you believe it's $1. Whereas cryptocurrency, like a Bitcoin, it fluctuates in price all the time. A couple months ago, it was 16,000. Now it's like 22,000. If you go back like a year ago, that one Bitcoin was worth like $64,000. So it fluctuates. And it's kind of hard to like have a stable growth with something that fluctuates that intensely. So instead of cryptocurrency, I invest in crypto mining stocks such as Riot and Mara. And they kind of have the same fluctuations in percentage compared to crypto. But it's stocks, so like I understand it. Like, I could sell a put on something like Mara and like just gain the passive income from it. Especially because something that like that has a lot of volatility, there's a lot of premium to be made with that. Mm-hmm. I'm probably talking a bunch of jargon, huh?
I think it's so cool though, because I want to understand. I follow because I know a little bit about crypto, not a lot about stocks. But the basic principle is you are investing portions of your money into businesses that could either grow or fall, right?
Pretty much just businesses that I believe in long term, and sometimes like I do have a couple speculation plays. For example, Palantir, it's like an AI company that like focuses on solving solutions for the world, and just like, you know, that kind of technology, it's very disruptive, but if it ends up working out, it's going to be one of those plays that just like go insanely high up.
Mm-hmm. And so you have your stocks in multiple different businesses.
Oh yeah.
So if there was like, if let's say you have a bunch of money in Apple,
mm-hmm.
and Apple just goes terrible and then all the money drops, you're still kind of fine because you have it all spread out.
Well diversified, yeah.
How often do you do stocks? Like, how much time do you invest?
Every day from 6:30 to 1.
Whoa. How do you have the discipline to do that?
It's my life, I guess. I don't really, because it's not really something I look at as a job. It's more like a hobby, because I liked personal finance, and after it kind of took over, I viewed it more as like, you know, it's my job, it's my life. Like, this is what's giving me that sense of freedom to do whatever I want in the future. So like, I wake up every day motivated. So it's not really, it is discipline, because honestly, for something to like work long term, you need that level of discipline. But honestly, like, I'm motivated every day to like wake up at 6:30 and, you know, stay up and like watch the news, read whatever's going on in the world, and just connect that to like how it would affect the stock price.
And you think you have that, like, that feeling inside of you because of what you've seen growing up?
100%. Like, if I feel like if I didn't live in low income, I wouldn't be so worried about like making money so young. I'd probably still be in college, just like, you know, yay, future doctor. But like, honestly, right now my focus is making money and just living financially free.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's where a lot of people are at and should be at, because with how the world is right now, like, unless you plan on living with your family your whole life, you're like, we're predictably screwed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they talk about this recession that's gonna happen. There's like firing a bunch of jobs at all these random places, and we just do not know how things are looking. And then with how COVID was, and how like all of a sudden everyone was just, jobs are gone, everyone's fired, and then we're dealing with the side effects of all those checks, the stimulus checks and stuff like that.
Like inflation. Oh my God. That just brings upon so many problems.
Mm-hmm. And so now, like, my concern is just knowing people, like, you have your financial plan. Do you have, like, your financial strategy? Because if you have one income, that's not enough.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be, you have to think twice about things. And there's so many different arenas and so many opportunities. But why do you think stocks is the one that people should go to?
I just feel like it's the easiest way to get into like investing, because I mean, you could invest in like, you know, in yourself. You could read books, and you could like, you know, invest in the gym, and that's like working on yourself. And honestly, if you have like a good foundation of who you are, then everything else just seems a little bit easier. Mm-hmm. Investing in stocks though, that's like more of a money driven kind of thing, and it's just easy access, because you could go make yourself an account and start investing like today if you wanted to. Of course, you got to be 18. You got to have a social security, which some people don't have access to. But, you know, for the general population, they could invest today if they wanted to. Whereas if you wanted to invest in real estate, there are ways to invest in real estate and leverage yourself into real estate. But it's not like you go and buy a house and be like, oh, I'm investing in a house, because you need a down payment. You need a high income in order to even apply for that, like, you know, mortgage loan. And like, it's the entry level to like get into real estate is, you know, pretty difficult, whereas the entry level to stocks is, you know, anybody could do it, even with the dollar, like with fractional shares that a lot of brokerage offer. You know, you can invest with as little as $1. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're not going to get much out of it. You're maybe going to get like, you know, 10 cents after a whole year if you got a 10% return, but it's possible. It's doable. Anything you want to put in, you could, you know, get out.
Mm-hmm. That's so cool hearing this side of you. It's really different. You're really calculated. You know your numbers really well.
A little bit.
Yeah. So what's a good range to start if someone was serious about starting stocks and was like, I want to save a portion of my check for a certain amount of time to make how much to have a good start to be serious about stocks?
So that is all situational. I mean, like, do you want to know like a percentage?
Just a number. A number makes sense. People could relate to a number.
A number. Okay. Well, that is like, you know, pretty difficult, because everybody's situation is different. Like, first things first, you want to have no debt. Like, a lot of people in our age have student loans, and usually it's like around 4 to 6% depending on like what kind of loan they got. Mm-hmm. So one, you want to have no debt. You want to have at least 6 months to like, you know, support yourself financially for the next 6 months. A lot of people don't have that. I don't have that. I rely on my credit cards in order to kind of sustain me. You know, I kind of keep all my credit cards at a zero balance just to make sure, like, you know, because I don't have a savings account. Everything I get from my work or from renting out my car just goes straight into stocks. And a lot of people are like, oh, dude, like, something wrong is going to happen and, like, you're going to be in the guts again. And to me, it's like, no, because I have my credit cards to fall on. And honestly, like, my credit cards could sustain me for a whole year if I wanted to. And, I won't be like stuck for money. One, because I'm very good at budgeting. I could survive off of $20 a week. And like, two, it's just with the way I'm going about things now, I don't think it's going to happen. Just because I'm not highly leveraged as I used to. I'm not really gambling like I used to. And I'm slower. I'm taking the slower approach, which is the more mature approach. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hear the live off of 6 months, you know, but then I'm also like, but I don't care living with a little bit of risk. Like, I have a lot of buffers of freedom.
We are also young, and you want to take those risks when you're young, because you have time to, if you were to like, you know, go to the ground and like hit zero again, you have time to kind of get yourself back up. And like, I have my parents, but like, I don't want to rely on them. So, you know, I kind of keep myself in a way. So, oh my God, this is difficult. But I give myself my own buffer, and like, worst comes to worst, I just, you know, rely on my parents for a little bit and then just get myself back up.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like, you do want to take those risks when you're young because you're able to.
That's very true, because I would say people should have like 6 months of their living planned out, especially if they have a family. But you could really get in the habit of like, that's going to be a problem. Get closer to the mic.
Yes.
I don't think I told my dad I'm doing a podcast. But if you have like a certain amount of money just sitting, you can just train your mind to just like not touch, to not take a risk, to not be down, to be in a situation where, you know, you just got to see what happens. And that's something that I realized. Like, I had money that I wouldn't touch, but then it's like, but this is potential. You're supposed to use that risk muscle. You're supposed to realize you're young and you want to figure out how this can make you more, especially if you have buffers, which some have, some don't. But I think it's more important to take risk while you can.
Oh, 100%. But going back to like that number, if it is difficult because everybody's situation is different. But like, if you have those few things, you know, you got no debt, you have a buffer for like 6 months to like help yourself in any situation, and you know you're making a good amount of money, if you have good income, then you should allocate at least like, you know, I would say $200 a week off your bi-weekly check into stocks and just like see where it goes. I feel like that's a pretty solid number that a lot of people could afford.
Like $800 a month?
800. More like 400 a month. And your bi-weekly check, it said.
Oh, bi-weekly. Okay. Okay, yeah, that's actually really realistic.
Like 400. Think about like the things you spend $400 on. You go out to go get food. That's $10 every day.
Yeah.
That's, what is that? $70 a week. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to compartmentalize, because like, we're young, we should live our life, we should have fun, but how nice would it be if you're like, all right, well, from January to June, you don't go out on the weekends at all, and you set aside your weekend money to investing, and then by the end you have like a really solid portfolio.
Oh yeah. Honestly, that's one of the reasons I got a gym membership, because before, like, when I didn't have a gym membership, I would be more inclined to go out with my friends, and usually when you go out, you spend money, whether it be gas, whether it be food, whether it be like entry to anywhere that you want to go. And I feel like having that thing to look forward to at the end of my day, going to the gym, it allowed me to like save a lot of money. So that's, just fill up your time with things, and honestly, like, over time you will like save money, and you'll say like, oh, like, I didn't really spend too much money on this. And also just budgeting for food. Like, a lot of people, they like going out to eat, but if you like, you know, go to Costco and buy chicken in bulk, rice in bulk, beans in bulk, you could last for a pretty long time on a really low budget. So that's something a lot of people need to like focus on. It's just learn how to budget and like learn how to manage your money.
Yeah, it's, people don't talk about money.
It's a taboo topic.
It's a taboo topic, like so many things, and that's the things I want to talk about, because I'll just be like meeting someone, and like, and they'll tell me they own a business, or I'll just ask like, how much is in your savings? And I could tell it throws people off, so I'm still learning like my ability to communicate through things like that. But it's like, even though it's weird for someone to know how much you have and how much you make, it's better to have people in your life that you can talk to about money, like, very comfortably. And that's why, you know, Daniel, like, that's why I'm so thankful for him, because we talk numbers. I have some friends where we go out, Annie will get drinks, we'll just be like, oh, you need that outfit, we need to get our nails done. And I'm like, I don't know where your money comes from. I really don't. You don't got a job. I have no idea where your money comes from. And me, I'm like, just in the moment, like, it's, we gotta do what we gotta do. But like, that's why I think those friends that do talk about money are a huge priority, or to at least establish it if you have people you go out on trips with, to be like, all right, let's stay within this range. Yeah, because I think we need to see more of that. And that's actually kind of how you and I started talking, because you posted a video in your car, and I was like, how do you have a Tesla?
Yeah.
I was like, how? And you're like, ha ha ha, do you actually want to know? And I'm like, yes, I really do.
Because I said that because a lot, like, some people don't really care. Like, they just want to know, like, how'd you get a car? And like, to the people that don't really care, I'm just like, debt. But for the people that like do want to know, like, I tell them the truth. Like, there was a time where I took out, that kind of like goes into like the whole story of like how I got into stocks again, because I was into stocks from the moment I was 18, but I think when I turned 19, when I kind of like lost everything, I was looking for a way to get back into it, and I kind of like had a plan to justify the purchase of my car like later on. And that kind of just goes into like, Jesus Christ, this is a lot.
Do you want to share? Because you can always plead the fifth.
I plead the fifth, but no, like, what can I say? Because like, there's some things I want to keep like, you know, hidden, but there's also some things that, you know, that I'm okay with sharing. But I guess like, I just kind of got into stocks, and I worked to the point where like, you know, I make 4 times of what my payment would be worth. And when I was making that 4 times amount, I was like, okay, you know what? Now I'll justify the purchase of my car. And on top of that, I justified it because, you know, this one app called Turo.
Yeah. Wow.
It's basically the Airbnb, but for cars. And I essentially, like, I justified that purchase even more by saying, look, if anything was to go downhill and I can't make a payment, which I highly doubt because, you know, the more slower approach, you have a lot more stability. But if shit was to hit the fan, I would just rent out my car, and that would, like, kind of supply me for the time being. And, like, I could show you what I make on Turo. I don't do Turo anymore because I don't have the needs for it. But I could show you, like, how much it was back in the day.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about that because that's so smart. I don't think enough people do that because they do that in Hawaii. They, like, super casually, they rent out their cars.
They just rent out their cars? Yeah. I know a lot of people do Airbnb in Hawaii because, like, I mean, it's a tourist spot. But cars? Dang, I didn't know that. Don't have internet. Yeah, it's not working. But if you were to get, like, an average, I was making around $800 to $1,000 a month off of just renting out my car. And the payment for the car is only $775. I say only, but it's a pretty significant payment.
For how long?
For 60 months.
60 months. 775 for 60 months.
For 60 months.
And what was your down payment for the car?
$4,000.
Interesting.
I'm not really worried about having a low monthly charge, I guess.
Yeah.
Because the interest rate I got was 2.49. And, like, honestly, if you look at that, that's honestly kind of like free money. Because if inflation is going up at, like, you know, 2%, which is what ideally we want 2% inflation. So if the value of money is losing 2% yearly and you get an interest rate of 2%, you essentially just got free money.
That's cool. That's a cool way to see it.
So, yeah.
Well, what would you do if you rented out your car?
What would I do?
Yeah.
I mean, luckily we did have other cars in the family that I could use, but worst comes to worst, I walk, I bike, I'll ask someone, but I will never Uber, because if you Uber, that kind of like takes away the reason why you're renting out the car. So just find ways. There's many ways of doing things. Like, worst comes to worst, you go for a walk. And honestly, like, there's nothing bad that comes out of walking. Like, I guess it'll take longer to get to your destination, but for someone like me, I don't really got much going on. I just kind of like wake up, do stocks. I take another nap between stocks and work, and then after I wake up, go to work, and then come back home, wait a couple minutes.
Wait a couple minutes.
And then I go to the gym, and that's pretty much like my day-to-day, every day.
Wow. That's super cool. Wait, hold on, I had a question. Frick.
How often do you have these brain farts with people?
Rarely. But today I woke up very early, but I did have a really specific question, and I just kind of forgot it. But I guess my whole point is it's really cool that you do that, because the financial, like, eagerness that I want to see, I don't see. And because I care for people so much, I want to see young people financially succeeding, but there's such an unhealthy guide. Like, I talk to people like, how do you want to make your money? And they're just like, oh, I'm going to college right now. Like, that just goes to show you're screwed right now. Like, as of now, you're screwed. Unless you're going to be a lawyer or a medical person, or you have a plan. Like, without a plan, nothing's going to happen.
Like, it is pretty difficult because, like, people go to college as, like, a theater major or an English major. And unless you're going to, like, write rhetoric for the president, you're not going to be making a lot of money with an English degree. Or unless you're going to, you know, actually make it in, like, Broadway, or go to LA and, like, you know, go to Hollywood, you're not gonna make it in theater.
Yeah.
Or you're not gonna make it in acting. Like, and a lot of those things you could kind of do without a degree. I feel like right now, like if you were to go to Tesla and like search up jobs, like they just want a degree. They don't care what degree you have. They just want one. And the reason for that is because they want to see that you could follow directions and be on time for 4 years. Because if you show that, it shows that you're a reliable person. And if you're reliable enough to do a job, then that's all they need.
I could say that's very true. Reliability and discipline.
Like that's what a degree shows. Like it shows that like, you know, you could show up on time. It shows that you're disciplined enough to do whatever work you need to do for 4 years. And if you could do it for 4 years, you could do it for the rest of your life for the company you work at.
That's really interesting. That's something that I don't have. Oh, I remember my question. Is you have a good credit score?
I believe my credit score is a 780.
Oh my gosh.
And that's only because, and I did mess it up many times. The reason my credit score is relatively high compared to like people my age is because, one, I got my credit card the moment I turned 18, because that was like the one thing I was looking forward to the moment I turned 18. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to Chase. I'm gonna go get that Chase Freedom Reserve card, or like, not Reserve card, what the hell? The Chase Freedom Student card was the first card I got. And they just looked at my income. I worked at Taco Bell at the time. They gave me $500, and I was like, this is cool. And as I progressed, as I like showed that, you know, I could keep a low balance, I showed that I could pay it off in full every month. Your credit score increases. You show them you get more income, and they just slowly raise your credit limit. Right now, between my credit cards, I have 5 credit cards right now. I have the Apple credit card, the Chase City Double Cash. I have the Chase Freedom. I have Chase Freedom Flex, and I have the Amazon Prime card. So that's 5. And between all of them, I have, I believe, $26,000 in credit that I could just fall back on if anything was to happen.
But I thought you don't pay off your credit card right at the end of the month.
I pay it off whenever it's due, and I always make sure to pay it off in full.
And that helps your score?
And that helps your score.
Dang. So even I recently got a credit card, I think like 2 years ago or something like that. So I'm still learning. And then I recently just went on a flight, and like my whole credit card paid for it.
That's awesome.
And stuff like that.
If you could use like, you know, your credit card to pay for flights, because I know a bunch of credit cards, they give you miles, like airline miles. And if you could use that to like go on trips for free, that's insane. I don't really go out that much because like I know if I was to go out, I'd spend a lot of money, and that's not where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
But I use it for cash back, and sometimes like if I just need money for no reason, I'll just get my cash back, and I'll be like, hey, look, I got an extra $400. Let's go do something.
How does that work? Cash back?
Cash back. So there's credit cards that have like, you know, points that offer you like reward points for using your credit card. Some credit cards, they have like a 1% for everything. The Apple Cash card that has a 2% if you use Apple Pay. The City Double Cash has 2% on all purchases. Amazon has 1% on all purchases and 5% if you use it at Whole Foods or Amazon. So let's say you spent $100 on Amazon, you're gonna get $5 in cash back. And it might not seem like a lot, but over time it does stack up.
So it's the points, it's the thing that paid for my flight. Oh, okay. That's really cool.
You could like you could transfer them to be either miles, or you could transfer them to be cash back, or you could get like, you know, gift cards for like Apple or Nike or whatever. But honestly, I just prefer the cash back.
That's smart. So your hacks are set aside $200 from your bi-weekly checks or around that amount, and then start studying stocks. And you live off of credit cards, and that works for you?
I guess you could say live off of them. Like I always make sure you have enough money in your checking to pay off those credit cards. You never want to spend money you don't have.
Yeah.
But pretty much everything I do, I pay with my credit cards just for the points. And also because it shows the credit bureaus your credit history. And if it shows that like, you know, you're constantly using your credit card and you're paying it back, then it shows that you're a reliable person, and they'll increase your credit score, they'll increase your credit limit. And over time, you have a good credit score.
Yeah, because they make it seem like we shouldn't be using our credit card too much because you can get screwed over.
That is for people that fall into credit card debt.
Yeah.
And that's because they made, you know, wrong decisions. And they just don't trust credit cards. Like my parents, they didn't trust credit cards for the longest time because they did get screwed over back then. But now, like, my mom has been using her points pretty like, efficiently. And she's like, oh my god, this is awesome. I was like, yeah, see, mom, I told you.
Yeah, that's really cool. I want to get another card now. I think I want to get an Apple one. I have 2. I want an Apple one.
The Apple one is really good because you get 2% cash back on all purchases. That's awesome.
So the points accumulate over time is what you're trying to say.
Exactly.
And when they say like 2% cash back, that sounds nice, but I don't get it.
Essentially, like 2% of whatever you buy goes back in points, and those points can be transferred into cash back. So let's say you spent $10 on some lunch. You're going to get, how many points would that be? You're going to get 2% cash back. So 2% off of $10, that's 20 cents. You're going to get 20 cents. It might not be a lot, but over time it stacks up. Especially
if you're already going to be spending money, like
exactly
on gas, on food, on shopping, and all of a sudden you have a free flight, or you have, I need to try other stuff. Maybe a hotel, other things you can get back. Because I do the points. I don't think I've ever done cash back.
Well, the points you could just transfer them into cash back.
That's so cool. I mean, I would buy a flight, but that sounds trippy. These are things that people need to know, especially Turo. So Turo is an app where you can rent out your car.
Yes.
And what about, like, how does it work with registration and insurance?
So Turo has their own insurance, and they take away like a percentage of whatever you make off your sales. So for me, I like having the 25-75 plan, which essentially means that 75% I get to keep, but 25% goes to Turo. So 25% of like my sales go to Turo, and that 25% pays for my insurance. And if something was to go down, I would only pay a $2,000, I think it's $200 deductible for that plan, and I get full coverage.
Wow. That's really cool. I want to use that. And it's like safe, and you get to meet the people, and you make the rules. Do they gas the car, or you have the car gassed and then they just take it and bring it back gassed?
Well, electrified, I guess.
Oh, this is true. Yeah.
But so like I could kind of like run down what I do on Turo. Like I just have a listing, and people could just rent it out. And once somebody like shows interest, they will like, rent out my car, and I would send them a message. You don't have to, but I like doing that because I like having that personal connection with them. Mm-hmm. I'd be like, hey, like my name is Alfredo. I'll be like your Turo host. Like, is there anything you need or any like questions you have? And like usually they will have some questions about like how it works and how they would pay for. Let's say they go over on miles, because on Turo my plan was 200 miles per day that you rent. And let's say they go to like San Diego, which honestly this did happen. Some dude, he rented it out for a while, I believe like 4 days, and he had 800 miles, but he went like over the limit by 200 miles. And they're like, oh, like how does it work? And essentially you pay 54 cents per extra mile that you go over the limit. And at the end of the trip, any charging that was done, it gets charged to my account, and I just invoice them after, and they just pay for all my charging.
So Turo does a lot of the work for you.
It's insane how easy Turo makes it.
Yeah.
And on top of that, here's a little thing. I use my credit card to pay for the charging. So whenever they charge my car for me, all the money that they spent charging my car goes back to me in points.
Wow. You're really smart. You really got the system figured out. See, I see like this whole other side of you. That's so cool. Especially because I wanted to say this.
Go for it.
Well, and this teaches a lot about just people and understanding, but like the very first thing I heard about you, which is relevant to what we like to talk about on this podcast. But yeah, like the very first time I heard about Benji, it was like, Benji's a hoe. Benji sleeps around. And I'm just like, here we go. Like, us women, we love to talk. We love to exaggerate things. We'll do anything for a good story. Like, all the girls were in the break room, and you know how it is, like in that back room.
Oh, yeah. Just
like talking crap or whatever. And I'm like, I mean, I'll keep my like, I'll be aware. But I'm like, there's always more to the story, Like it's so easy to say one thing and judge a person from what you hear. And you told me, like, you're in the journey of talking to someone, and you have been part of the hookup culture, because, like, these day and age,
it's tough.
It's like you're in the Silicon Valley in America in 2023, and you're a male and you're a female. Welcome. You've probably been part of the hookup culture.
I feel like the only reason I kind of like went into that hookup culture is because, I mean, like, I had a really long-term relationship when I was a sophomore. amazing woman. She's still like one of my closest friends, but I had like a decently long relationship from sophomore year until my senior year. Mm-hmm. And I guess, like, you know, I got like, you know, the attention and validation from her, but I didn't really feel like, you know, that I could pull a lot of girls. Like, I just felt like, you know, oh, they just view me as a friend, or they just view me as like undesirable, I guess. Mm-hmm. And when I went off to college, like, that kind of like changed, but I then also got into another like longer term relationship over there.
Yeah.
And I also had different thoughts, like, you know, I wanted to be a virgin until marriage. Mm. That didn't happen. I lost that at 15.
Dang it.
And then when I got like with my second body, like I was like, okay, you know what, like, I'm not gonna sleep around. Like, I want to be, you know, at least somewhat pure for the woman I'm gonna marry.
Yeah.
And I like rejected a lot of people in college. I think my body count, actually, no, I feel like that's a little cocky, but
you can say if you want.
Oh my god, I feel like my body count in college, if I like slept with every girl that kind of like threw herself at me, will probably be like in the 50s.
Dang. Like threw themselves at you. Women are like that.
I mean, if you have something they want, and honestly, like, I am a pretty smart guy. Like, back in college, there was this one thing called Alex, which is something that people use for or the teachers in UC Merced, they use for pre-cal. Mm-hmm. And I was, you know, pretty good at math, as you could probably see, like, you know, how calculated I am. But like, I would just, like, you know, offer help, and they, like, there was this one girl, and honestly, like, her situation could be like for a lot of different people that I've met. Mm-hmm. They would just be slick with it. They'd be like, oh, okay, I can help you with Alex. And they're like, oh, okay, so can I go to your dorm? I was like, yeah, you could come to my dorm. And she's like, oh, well, if I'm coming, then I'm spending the night. And I'd just be like, okay, sure. And nothing ever happened, though. Like, we made out, but like, that was the most, because I didn't let anything else happen. Because, like I said, like, I was pretty reserved at that time. And then when I came back, same thing. I just didn't feel like the attention or validation I got, because you know, I was kind of chubby. I wasn't really good looking, I would say. Mm. And I didn't really have a lot going for me. Like, I was just working at Taco Bell, and I just felt like, you know, your regular Joe. And then finally, I feel like maybe I became someone that, like, not a lot, but like some girls would see more desirable. And I kind of just like took advantage of that while I had it. Mm-hmm. Because like back then I didn't have it. So now it's like, okay, let's try it out. But I regret it 100%. Like, I wish I didn't do it. Like, I wish I didn't do everything I did with, like, you know, these females that honestly don't matter in my life anymore. Mm-hmm. So I wish I like still had my morals and still had a low body count, but that's something I can't change. And that's something a lot of, you know, people can't change nowadays. But yeah, if you have the mentality going like forward and just say like, oh, like, you know what, like, I'm gonna try celibacy, or I'm gonna just not mess with a guy who doesn't put effort, or mess with a girl who's just there for a hookup. Mm-hmm. Then you could change it about yourself, and like, you could just go and live your life and just kind of adopt that mentality going forward.
Yeah. Are you still friends with any girls that you hooked up with?
Oh yeah. And like
healthy friendships?
I would say they are relatively healthy. I mean, it's weird because like I seen them naked, so
yeah, that's different.
But like they are like pretty healthy friendships. Like, we could talk about like, oh, like, I'm talking to this girl, and like they would help me. Mm-hmm. And like they would give me advice and be like, oh, like, you do this for her, do that for her, like give her some flowers. And I'd be like, okay, yeah. And like, they're not there to be jealous, they're actually there to like, you know, to help me out. Mm-hmm. And it really just depends on like the kind of connection you develop with them. Like, if it was just a hookup, then it's just that. But honestly, like, some of the girls that like I mess with, we were friends before. Mm-hmm. And so that just kind of happened.
Yeah, there's so much debate about it, because they say that you know, like, friends with benefits, or like, oh, you can be a friend and do a little bit more. And I'm like, well, then you're kind of messing with that friendship. And I would say, like, if you're hooking up with a friend, be like down and willing and ready to cut that friend off, because of the fact that, you know, you really want to respect that partner that you're with. Exactly. And not make them feel like already a little bit curious if you have a friend of the opposite sex, but then to have that like little secrets, it's not healthy.
100%. But I also do feel like, you know, everybody is different, and like, you know, everybody has their boundaries. Like, oh, like there's this girl I'm talking to, and she's like, are you okay with my guy friends? And I'm like, yeah, I don't care. Like, have your guy friends, just make the right decisions. Like, don't make me feel bad for, like, you know, taking the chance with you. And I'm like, are you okay if I have my girlfriend? And she's like, yeah, like, just don't do anything. And it's like, okay, yeah. I feel like I could, you know, respect I could respect her decision on, like, you know, taking that chance with me and, like, allowing me to, like, have female friends that I've, like, you know, linked up with in that way. But, like, you know, be respectful of the relationship and don't do anything with it. Like, keep it completely platonic. And sometimes, like, people don't know if it can be completely platonic after you had that relationship with them. But I mean, if you sense that, like, it's not gonna be platonic, then at that point you're just gonna have to cut it off.
Like that extreme honesty. It's so beautiful. Like, it's so refreshing because everyone has a past, and everyone's still navigating, like, sexual experiences because I'm Christian.
Right.
In the Christian community, you don't talk about it. Like, you do not. You come from Catholic background?
Catholic. Even then, you don't talk about it.
You don't talk about it. You don't ask questions. You don't have curiosity. It doesn't exist. And then on this whole other world, maybe when you went to college, when I went to high school, had, like, some friends that weren't raised in the church, it was just, like, consume. Like, this is the best thing in the world. You're going to want to get it. This is what you do to get it. You know, like, different things preached, and to be an individual, to have to balance both. Like, there's so much grace for people that are stuck in that world because it was forced on us. It was forced on us. Like, in my opinion, the church community is like, if you have sexual stuff going on, it's sin. Which is really saying, if you feel these natural urges, then you should be shameful about it. And then this other is like, we were meant to feel this, so go get it like an animal. You know,
those are completely opposites. Like,
yeah,
that's why you kind of have to pick and choose what you want to believe. Like, you know, it's okay to feel that natural, I guess, natural desire to want to reproduce. Like, we are humans. Like, that's what we're biologically meant to do. But we're not animals.
Yeah,
we have a conscience, and we can make the conscious decision of who we want to sleep with, who we want to engage in, like, you know, a sexual act with. Because honestly, like, I feel like sex is, for me, is definitely, like, a sacred act that should be done between two people that love each other.
Yeah.
Because if you don't love the person, and you're, like, you guys are, like, you know, combining your guys' energies and combining, like, you know, in the physical sense as well. And I just believe, like, there's this exchange of energy between you and that person. And if the other person is negative, or if the reason you guys are hooking up with is, you know, not a pure reason, it's gonna mess you up pretty badly.
Yeah, especially because, like, there was a reason why we were only supposed to do it with one person, because you can talk to whoever you want, you can hang out with whoever you want, but this one special person is the only person you have this, like, super special intimate experience with. It's hard because people don't really believe in monogamy like they used to, or a long-term relationship is more rare. There's so much work, but it's still the most worth it thing ever. That's why it's so hard to attain, because it's so worth it. And it's so beautiful. And, like, I've talked to so many people about just casual hookups, and it's kind of how you survive these days. It's what you do to get by. It's just what happens. There's no shame. But at the end of the day, to have those kind of experiences with someone you love is ideal. You know, like, remember, you are not an animal. Purpose and intention, and the energetic exchange, and the fact that, like, those desires are, like, it's just energy, like you said, which you can use towards, like, passion, towards, like...
That's what I like about that, too. I believe Daniel, he talks about, like, no FAP, and, like... Does he?
I don't think he talks about it that much, but he doesn't watch porn.
He doesn't watch porn.
He has before.
I feel like in this generation, you're kind of lying if you say you never watched it or never came across it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But, like, yeah, that is, like, an energy, and, like, instead of using it in one go, just, like, you know, whether it be masturbating or jerking off or messing around with the girl that isn't worth it, you could use that, like, motivation, like, in the gym. Like, for guys, it kind of, like, brings out a different kind of rage in you, and you're able to, like, lift heavier weights. You just have higher, like, endurance in the gym. That's kind of, like, what I use it to. Whereas if, like, somebody that, like, just released, they had the release of dopamine. there's nothing left. Like they just kind of like want to relax, sit down, and that's the end of their day. Whereas somebody that like, you know, is using that energy to go somewhere else and do something, then that's, I feel like for the most part that would be beneficial for them.
It's such a powerful philosophy because it's empowering something that's often shamed. It makes you like, oh, okay, like I can do something with this. I can write poetry. I can stay awake and be energized. Like that is how we should see the way that we live and the way that we are. But I think it's cool how you can be self-aware about like your journey, because like for a girl, if you have multiple bodies, like the more bodies the worse. Like the more bodies, the more of a hoe you are, and that's just unfortunate. Like that's just the natural stereotype, and there's nothing we can do about it. But for guys, there's like, you know, the more the better.
In a way, because I feel the way that's viewed, or that is like a general view, is because for girls they kind of have the option to pick and choose who they want to sleep with, whereas guys they have to go get the girl. Like girls they kind of just take everything from like any guy. Like a guy, for the most part, a girl isn't gonna go out of her way to talk to a guy. It's really the men that are trying to get the girl.
Like the hunt.
In a way. And so they have all these options, and they could pick and choose who they want to be with. Whereas guys, they kind of have to like, you know, go for the girl and like see if she likes them back, or like, you know, have a way to make it more desirable towards these women. And there's a way I'd like to word it, but it's not coming into my head. But like, I'm brain farting again.
we both had our moment. On the video, I'll just like cut it. But
do you like actually edit this stuff?
No.
No? Oh my goodness.
Well, I don't know how to edit the audio, but I can edit the video, and then I have some like people that are willing to teach me how to use Final Cut Pro. This is all a learning thing for me. Like I'm just in it, and I can get my podcast in, but there's a lot of details I still need to learn.
That's insane. You're insane.
It's so fun.
I bet it is.
The energy. But
okay, going back to what we were saying. Oh my god. See, I suck at this because I'm so like.
No, you're flowing. This is interesting. You're talking about, okay, hookup culture, the energy that we have, that we can use it in creative ways. You were saying how... Oh, you didn't finish what you were saying.
I didn't. But, yeah, I guess going back to, like, guys going for the girl.
The hunt, yes.
Like, a girl isn't just going to give it up to any random guy, you know, for the most part. It is a little bit harder for a man to hook up with a girl, whereas with the girl, like, she could go to a club and come out with like 3 to 4 guys numbers of like people that just want to hang out with her, and guys are more inclined to hook up than the girl is. So yeah, I feel like it's definitely harder for a guy to get laid than it is for a girl, and that's why I guess it's seen more for a guy to like, oh, like you have a high body count, I guess it's because you're very desirable to all these women, whereas a girl that has a high body count, it's more like, oh, you allowed yourself to get fucked by all these men. And honestly, like it's a pretty sad way of seeing it, but it's the way it is. It's
the way it is, because it is easy for women, but it's like, well, pleasure's pleasure, but it's harder for men. And I just also think that there's this path that, or like this perspective that needs to be shared, that like virgin men are so freaking rare.
I have a friend who's a virgin. He actually never had his first kiss.
Is he like presentable? That's what's rare, because it's like, I get it if you've never had your first kiss because you're shy, you don't hit the gym, you're not like mindful of your appearance, of the way you communicate, but to be like a sharp looking guy that hasn't hooked up with anyone, like that's really rare, because the world puts so much pressure on, like, to be a man of value you need to be able to get girls, and to get girls is to sleep with them.
Totally wrong. I feel like the reason why he's still a virgin is because, again, Catholic household, and what his mom says, like, it means a lot to him, and it would just break the world, break his mom's heart if he came back and said, hey, I slept with somebody. And also, like, he does feel that pressure of like, oh man, like, how do you get all these girls? And it's like, you have them. Like, these girls are like trying to talk to you, you just don't do anything with them. I guess he was a little socially awkward, but like that's, I don't know, I find it cute for him. He's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, like he doesn't know what to do with it, and he kind of just like sticks to his own person.
That's a good place to be, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because then it's just going to be really special for one girl that she doesn't have to feel like comparing herself to a bunch of other people,
mm-hmm.
and that it's like just her.
It's just her. Like, that's why I'm also scared for him to like get out into the world, because his entire life he's always just like been working, whether it be like school, and then like later on after school he works, mm-hmm. and then he works out. But like I'm scared for him to like, you know, go out and meet a girl that like just views him as like just another body.
Because girls like, are like that now.
They're a lot of them are vicious.
Vicious little aggressive animals.
But yeah, I'm scared for him, because like I know when he finally gives it up to a girl, it's gonna mean a lot to him. Whereas with the girl, I'm not sure if, like, you know, if it was a virgin, then he would be all that girl thinks about. But like that's kind of rare. Like she's gonna have something to compare it to and be like, oh, like, you know, mm-hmm. I liked this guy better, or it's definitely a gray area for him. So like I'm just scared for him.
Yeah, well, you're his friend. You can literally tell him everything you know and everything you learned.
I feel like that just makes him want it.
Well, more like the fact that you want to be so selective, because like that girl, you're gonna think she's gonna have the same experiences as you, but girls these days have it a lot more easy, where you are not number 1. You're probably number 8, number 9, number 12, number 20, mm-hmm. and you want to be with someone who's like desirable and beautiful and like isn't socially non-existent, but like to intensify the beauty of patience. Because if she's willing to wait like 3 to 6 months, then she's willing to like let go of her past, mm-hmm. and not see it like that.
She's willing to like focus more on like the reason why she's like not hooking up, because at that point like there's some kind of relationship, mm-hmm. but like if you allow yourself some time to like actually get to know the person, you're not having sex with just another body. You're having sex with that person. Mm-hmm. You're having sex with like who they are, what they represent. Mm-hmm. Like you're no longer just with them for the matter that they are. You're with them for who they are.
Yeah. And that's the point that everyone should get at. Like just to have that experience with someone where you're like, you realize that the exchange is very powerful. It's not just relieving. All right. It's about that time you got to do your thing. But do you have advice for the listeners that want to elevate their lives, that are listening to grow, to evolve, that you can tell them from the life that you've lived?
I feel like there's definitely a lot of lessons to be learned. But one thing, at the end of the day, everyone's going to live their life. But if you really want to like add value to yourself and the relationships you're in, don't hook up. Like that's honestly one of the things I regret doing, just messing around with whoever, and like actually focus on the relationships you're making with a bunch of people. But also like I am also like a finance person, so I would say just invest, whether it be $1 or $2 or $100 if you're able to. Just invest early. Don't really compare yourself to other people. Just give yourself. A lot of people our age, they don't have the time to know like, oh, like something's working out, because for something to work out in the long term, you need decades. Mm-hmm. It's not going to happen in the next 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. It's going to happen in the next 20 years.
Yeah.
To know if you actually made it with like stocks and real estate and just your personal life, you're going to need to know how it will be over time, mm-hmm. I would say. And yeah, just invest, trust the process, invest in yourself, and just live your life knowing that like you're investing for a bigger purpose. And yeah.
That was awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. Guys, thank you for listening. Keep elevating, invest, don't hook up, live your best life. Be empowered and be empowering to those around you. Goodbye.